About 400 years ago, William Shakespeare made this claim that's, well, it's pretty wild. He said he'd figured out the secret to eternal life, not with some kind of magic or strange alchemy, but with just ink and paper. So let's dive in and see how a simple love poem turned into this defiant promise to live forever. We've all heard this line, right? Or at least we think we know what it's about. It seems like the most romantic compliment you could possibly give someone. But what if I told you that's not really the point at all? Because, you see, this poem isn't just a compliment. It's a full-blown argument. It's Shakespeare making this bold, almost arrogant case for a whole new kind of immortality. And it's one that's born from looking at the beauty of the natural world and basically saying, nope, not good enough. So to really get Shakespeare's pretty radical solution, we first have to understand the problem he's trying to solve. And it's the oldest, most human problem there is: time. This right here is the fear that just runs through the sonnets. It's this deep down knowledge that everything we find beautiful, everything we love is eventually going to decay and disappear. That time is this unstoppable force that destroys everything in its path. What's so amazing here is that Shakespeare isn't just setting up a nice, simple comparison. He is methodically picking apart the very idea of a perfect summer's day. One minute it's too windy, then he says its lease, its time with us, is way too short. The sun is either scorching hot or it's hiding behind the clouds. He's building a case, line by line, that nature itself is just too flawed to be a good metaphor for real, lasting beauty. And there you have it. The grim diagnosis is in. Shakespeare's laid out all his evidence. If even this perfect idea of a summer's day is this full of holes and temporary, then what hope is there for anything? It's a pretty bleak setup that just begs for a dramatic answer. And this is the moment. This is where the whole poem, and you could argue the entire series of sonnets, makes a hard turn. After totally dismissing nature, the poet finally reveals his real solution. It's a defiant, permanent answer, and it's written in ink. Now, to really appreciate how masterfully he does this, you just need to know one little term from the poet's toolbox: the volta. It's Italian for turn, and it's that killer moment in a sonnet where the argument just flips on a dime. It's where a but or a yet comes in and completely changes the game. Think of it like the poem's plot twist. And here it is in Sonnet 18. After 8 straight lines listing every single one of Summer's flaws, the volta hits like a thunderclap. But everything he just said gets thrown out the window. Your summer, the poet says, that's going to be eternal. It will never, ever fade. So here's the solution, the big idea. The poem itself becomes the time machine. It's like a fortress built out of words, a time capsule made to protect beauty from time itself. The verse is the key to immortality. And this final couplet? This is his triumphant conclusion. It's basically a contract sealed in verse. It's a promise between the poet, the person he loves, and us, every single one of us who reads it. Because every time these words are read, we're fulfilling the prophecy. We're giving that beauty another moment of life. But, declaring that your poetry is an engine for immortality, that's not exactly a simple fix. It actually raises the stakes. It forces the poet to ask a new question. If your words are going to last forever, how do you praise someone honestly without falling back on all the tired fake cliches that so much other poetry is full of? So in Sonnet 21, he actually mocks other poets for what he calls their proud compare. He basically rolls his eyes at their over-the-top language, calling it cheap marketing, like their praise is just something for sale. He, on the other hand, promises to write truly, to be plain, because his love isn't a product to be sold. It's the real deal. And the person who's getting all this true praise is anything but simple. In Sonnet 20, he calls the beloved a master mistress of my passion, a young man with a woman's face whose beauty just amazes both men and women. So you can see, this isn't some generic, off-the-shelf kind of beauty he's preserving. It's someone specific, complex, and totally captivating. Someone who just breaks all the easy categories. Okay, so let's get to our final section because this is where everything comes together for the ultimate, most personal payoff. This whole idea of poetic immortality, it isn't just about preserving someone else's beauty. It becomes a kind of intimate medicine, a real cure for the poet's own deepest sorrows. In Sonnet 29, the poet is at rock bottom. He feels like a complete outcast, totally cursed by bad luck, and he hates his own life. He's looking around, envying other people's talents, their friends, their futures. He is totally alone, just weeping and crying out to a death heaven that isn't listening.
And then, right in the middle of all that self-loathing, comes this one little word, haply. It just means by chance. Just when he's about to completely give in to despair, a thought of his beloved just arrives. He doesn't force it. It's not an act of will. It's an accident. It's a moment of pure grace.
And just look at the incredible transformation that one single thought causes. In an instant, his entire state of being shifts. His spirit, which was just trapped on the sullen earth, suddenly soars up like a lark at sunrise, singing at the very gates of heaven. It is one of the most powerful images of pure joy you'll ever read, a complete, stunning reversal from total despair.
He explores this exact same healing power again in Sonnet 30, but this time he uses a totally different metaphor. Here, his memory is like a courtroom, a sessions of sweet silent thought, where he calls up the past. He's like an accountant of grief, tallying up old debts, crying over friends he's lost, and reliving old sorrows again and again.
But then, just like in the last sonnet, it takes just one thing to balance the books. One single thought of his dear friend is enough to wipe the entire slate clean. And this is the truly mind-blowing payoff. The memory of the beloved doesn't just make him feel a little better, it cancels the debt. The books are balanced. All losses are restored and sorrows end. It's such a total, absolute claim that it's just breathtaking. The love that he's worked so hard to preserve in his poetry has become powerful enough to erase his own suffering. Which leaves us with this one big, lingering question. Shakespeare is making the ultimate case for art here, that a memory perfectly captured in a poem can defeat not only time, but grief itself, that all our losses can actually be restored. So what do you think? Is he right? Or is this just the most beautiful, most necessary story we tell ourselves to hold back the dark?